My name is David Forbes, and welcome to Showcase 365. This is a podcast where we share interviews, learn about ideas and practices, and give actionable tips to help you and those you support. Today, we're talking with Jamie Stoner and David Bright from SCI, or Service Coordination, Inc. Not only are they an affiliate of distinction within the Nexus, but David won an award at Showcase this year for innovations in person-centered practices. Keep listening to hear our conversation. Welcome to Podcast 365. I'm David Forbes, and today I'm joined by two wonderful guests from Service Coordination, Inc. Getting started, I'd love it if you could introduce yourselves, just share your name and what you do, and maybe a bit about what Service Coordination, Inc. is.
Sure. I'll kick us off. Thanks for having us, David. My name is Jamie Stoner. I am the Senior Vice President of the Coordination of Community Services program at Service Coordination, Inc. Service Coordination is an organization based in Maryland who provides case management services. And I'll turn it over and let David talk a little bit more about his role and anything he wants to add about our organization.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me. My name is David Bright, one of the program managers for Supports Planning Services side at Service Coordination, Inc. One of my major roles is to help support the supervisors, but I also help in driving program initiatives, as well as maintaining those relationships with Maryland Department of Health, other providers, and other community partners as well.
Awesome. Well, Jamie and David, welcome to the podcast. We're really excited to have you here and to have this discussion. So I'd love it if you could share, what specifically drives SCI's work with people and their families from your perspective.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say at Service Coordination, or sometimes we say SCI, we love abbreviations, and so for that, I'll apologize. But at SCI, we believe that our quality case management begins with helping people understand their choices and connecting them to resources in their community. And we do it in a way that we try to be very intentional about ensuring we're respecting dignity and rights. And so for me, I think that's a huge part of our why. We hire a workforce that is just really committed to that mission work. And I don't know about you, David, but I see that every day. In all the little ways, both in the way we are supporting people in the community, but also our internal teams.
Yep. I mean, just to add, people first. I feel like a lot of things what Jamie was saying, we really care about the people that we are supporting. We care about our team members. I don't think there's a single team member on our workforce that doesn't want to make a difference in the lives of the people that we're supporting. So, I mean, we want to see people not only just living in the community, but also being a part of the community and have access to those community resources. So I think that's going to also be a big part of our why we do the things that we do.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys get to do a lot of positive impact on people's lives with the work you do, which is amazing. So going a little bit further than that, you just shared kind of your why, your organization. How do you see how that connects with the Charting the LifeCourse framework?
I think the intersection of the quality support that SCI provides and the Charting the LifeCourse framework begins with the tools and resources that help our case managers out in the community have conversations in ways that are customizable and unique and cater directly to an individual person. I think, to add on to that, the LifeCourse principles lead to interactions that truly get at the heart of person-centered approaches and individualized plans and outcomes.
Mm-hmm. And also just adding that all principle, we really want to try to find a way to, impact everyone's lives that we can, and not trying to let people fall through the cracks, so to say. And that really happens a lot with the healthcare industry. So we're really doing our best here, and CTLC and Charting the LifeCourse and the principles is really helping us do that. and play our part.
Awesome. The all principle is such a beautiful thing, and it always
Mm-hmm.
warms my heart to hear organizations are really embracing that and kind of using that as a driver. So that is fantastic. Um, so obviously, it takes time for organization to to really get feet on the ground, get moving. So what was service coordination's transformational journey, and if you wouldn't mind going even a bit deeper than that, how was the Life Course Nexus involved in that journey?
Yeah, David, I can start, and feel free to kind of to chime in. David and I, obviously as leaders in the organization, are kind of familiar with the entirety of the work we're doing, but we do work in different programs, so things may be a little nuanced here or there. But I would say SCI has been on the journey of driving person-centered change for many years. And internally, when I think about the connection with LifeCourse, it really began with introducing the framework and the tools as resources for our case managers, tools in their toolboxes to engage in that person-centered planning process. First in our coordination of community services program, and then later in our supports planning program. Over the last several years, we've started to move beyond program implementation to increasing organizational capacity. We're providing opportunities for team members to engage with the Life Course Nexus in the Ambassador Series, for example. We've had people complete the series and then become champions within the organization. And those champions have been instrumental in our peer-to-peer knowledge sharing and utilization of resources within the program. And I think to take it a step further, we engaged with the Nexus around doing a scoping analysis, and that was designed to really help us understand how we were doing in terms of the quality supports we wanted to provide. It also started to give us a common language internally that really supported an organizational change of that continued quality improvement efforts that we were striving for. And we're still today are continuing to think about how this work will allow us to drive practice and policy and system changes at all levels. So I think, you know, we've come a long way, and we've really done a lot in terms of our engagement with the Nexus. We're engaged at the affiliate program level, and we're able to come out to the conference and present and share information with others 2 years in a row. And I think us even being here today is just an example of how we want to continue to reinforce that relationship and think about how we contribute to a larger scale of knowledge sharing.
I'm not sure if I can follow that one. You said it. You said it beautifully, Jamie. Said it absolutely beautifully. Um,
Thanks.
and like I said, Jamie has been around the company, the program longer than I have, and even the short time, the transformation that I've seen has been pretty vast. In our way that we are now approaching the people that we're supporting, and within our SPS program, we had our person-centered planning tools, which were good, but looking back at it, they weren't that great. And now that with our utilizing our CTLC framework, it really allows us to take a closer look at the person with a significantly enhanced holistic lens. So we are definitely making a lot of headway now with our implementation. I can see a lot of change that has happened over the course, even this year. So it's very exciting.
It really sounds to me like as an organization, you make sure that you're walking the walk, and I mean that is so important when you're wanting to have a positive impact on people's lives.
Hmm.
Um, got some
Yeah,
cold chills
yeah.
there. Um, Fantastic. So obviously, y'all are doing a lot right now, and that is a journey, and it can be hard to keep momentum up when you're pushing things forward, when you're pushing the envelope. So if you're looking back, if you could think about, what was one turning point or key decision you think that helped you sustain that momentum to get to where you are today?
Some of the most memorable conversations we had in our organization became when we were a little bit more experienced with the framework and we started looking at quality and community engagement. The life course principles really continued to align with all of those conversations. In fact, when we engaged with the Nexus to do the scoping analysis, we found connections to our mission and vision that repeatedly were aligning with Charting the Life Course principles. And in those conversations we were having, it became very clear to me about how we were already kind of starting to create a common language within the organization that would really help us embed the principles and the framework in all of the things that we do in an organization. So when we're thinking about how we write our strategic plan, or how we call our human resources department people and culture, how are we writing our policies and procedures? Are they really looking at that? As you said, David, the walking the walk. When we talk about being person first with our team members and with people and with communities, are we walking that talk? And so, that was one of the most, I think, influential kind of conversations for me in this work that we were doing. Is it wasn't as big as a lift as I thought it was going to be. We were already starting to be aligned.
Yeah, and I would love to add just what Jamie was saying, just about the conversation. I think, you know, on the SPS side and even with other leaderships across the entire agency of SCI, just that continued conversation around CTLC. Um, it when you talk to other team members and you see and you hear that, oh, like this, they're just introducing something and it's going to kind of fizzle out. uh, CTLC is far from that. We are continuing to find ways to infuse it within our program. Like Jamie said, around the language, having that common language, putting it in our policies and procedures. Um, we are, like I said, just continuing that conversation around it, and also the commitment. This isn't going anywhere. This is only going to get larger, more robust, and it's going to be more exciting as we continue this work. So, like, I think that turning point for me and in my role within my program, starting with the office hours and then changing that into our CTLC monthly and action meetings. I have a front row seat at the impact that the framework is having on the people that we're supporting, and hearing those success stories, hearing the barriers that people are running into. But it's that continued commitment of education. Like, we're all going through this, and I would say that we've already made it to the other side, and the other side is, wow, this stuff really does work. We are really making an impact of the people that we're supporting, and we're seeing a shift in culture within our program. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's always really cool, like hearing about Life Course being embedded like organizationally. While also of course being then provided to like the people who are being supported, receiving services, however that may go per organization, and just how those play so nicely together.
Hmm.
Um, and it sounds like that's something you guys have succeeded really, really well, and that is fantastic. And kudos to you for that, because it's not always easy, that transition and shift and how you think. Um, it's fantastic. So I think you may have already kind of covered it a little bit, but if you have a bit more thoughts on it, how exactly is Training Life Course now woven into Service Coordination Inc.'s everyday work? If you wouldn't mind going just a little bit deeper.
Sure. So of course we have our person-centered planning process, and with that we are trying to utilize everything that the framework has to offer. You know, looking at ways that some of those tools are connecting with each other. The STAR tool, the life domain vision tool, the trajectory, mapping relationships. We try to utilize that within a process itself. But then, moving on to our actual team members, we are utilizing kind of infusion of the goal attainment tool or goal achievement framework, as well as the three buckets of need. With our onboarding materials, we have something called the professional achievement trajectory, where we are utilizing that trajectory framework for the progression of our own team members within their current role. So essentially saying, what is your vision? What is your ideal, or uh, how would you want to, how do I want to say this?
David, did you mean their employment with SCI?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're utilizing it to um, just identify how they can be the best coordinator, how they can be the best supports planner, case manager, and also utilizing their strengths to do so. So that's one way that we're utilizing it for our team members. And also, like I said, adding in that CTLC language to our policies and procedures, making something consistent across the program.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you brought up, David. I think that um, we all, I mean, people just in general, I think when we're exposed to the life course tools, we find that there's some folks who just right away kind of the tools just resonate with them in a way to capture information, and others, it takes a minute just to say, what am I trying to communicate? What am I trying to do here? And so, David, some of the things I love about us offering all these tools as resources to our coordinators and our case managers across both programs is there is such a variety, and everything is so customizable to help create it in a way that works for the person.
Mm-hmm.
And that easily translates when somebody picks that up. Then when they're in the community supporting someone, they're able to say, oh, this is not a big deal. Like, I don't have to fill out every single thing. We can turn this, we can move that, we could use
Mm-hmm.
pictures. So it just, I think, helps ease into sometimes conversations that you don't know where to start, right? And so the tools become a place to start a conversation. I think about all of the resources that give prompts and help people to start to think about, how do I think about this vision for the future?
Mm-hmm.
What are my typically developing peers doing? What are people my age doing? Or what will people my age be doing when I am that age? And kind of starting to plan for future, and that's a scary thing to do sometimes. And I think what I love about how frequently we're referencing the tools, we've embedded the language within our procedures, is it becomes less about completing forms and filling out paperwork to having meaningful conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And at service coordination, we really pride ourselves on relationship building. And, that's internally with community members, with providers, families, people supported. And when you're able to show up and have a conversation and build trust, we can be so much more successful in helping remove barriers, help people achieve their vision for their good life, and really be intentional about how we partner with others to, just really expand the available resources for people. So I think, we do all of those things, and again, I go back to how much we were aligned with the life course principles when we were looking at that. I think you would see it in our strategic plan. You would see it, in our materials that we produce online. When
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about being person centered, it isn't just kind of the canned phrase. It is our way of supporting people and building relationships.
Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff there. I'm just going to hone on something that stuck out to me. is it sounds like really you guys work to empower your staff, like through professional development, using the lens of the life course, so that then they can really provide the best like kind of person centered approach possible in their role. And I think that is just so huge. You're giving everyone the tools they need to be successful,
Hmm.
and push things in the
Yeah.
proper direction. Um, that is all fantastic. I definitely need to come visit you guys sometimes to get a tour. Um,
We would love
so,
that. We would love that.
all right, open invitation it is. Um, so I just mentioned person centered approach. So why do you feel that adopting a person centered approach is important? Why does it matter?
I'd say in a very fundamental way, I see it as a demonstration of respect. One of the things I love about SCI is that one of our core values in the organization is people first. It's the foundation of how we operate. And in a mission based organization, our team members are all aspiring to fully, you know, see that vision come to life. We want inclusive communities. Um, we want to be able to foster a culture of belonging of both the people we support, but also our team members. And David, I'll share when I joined the organization, I did a listening tour. I wanted to talk to people, who were doing case management out in the community, supervisors and managers who were leading the work. And one of the things that stood out to me um, was when I asked the question, and I kind of based it on Q12 type questions, engagement type questions. But I asked the question, do you think there's someone who cares about you at SCI? Is there someone that really cares about you personally here? And 100% of the people, and I talked to over 100 team members, said hands down, yes, of course. And that is a testament to what we say when we say we're a person-centered organization. I think our team members would also say they feel that we care about people and we have a person-centered approach. And so again, I think just like giving resources and tools to our case managers to help support people in the community, when we're already doing that in our everyday work, and we say this is the importance of being person-centered. We see you as a person and we care about you as a person. It's easy then to go replicate that. It's easy to say we're going to take that to the community because that's who we are. And we hire a lot of people who are really aligned with wanting to help us advance our mission.
You got that one, Jamie. Fantastic.
Moving on a little bit. So when you think about this transformation, bringing in the person centeredness, bringing in Charting the Life Course, how do you feel this is reframed what is possible for the people that you serve? And then also, do you have like maybe a success story that stands out that you'd be willing to share?
I have definitely have a few success stories that I would love to share if we have the time. Um, what I like to think about this question is our case managers, supports planners, community coordinators. I think they're like you said, David. They're empowered now, and they're empowered with this framework, these tools, this idea that they can ask certain questions. Maybe that they weren't asking before. Maybe they didn't know that they can ask certain questions or have the time to care about certain things other than the services that were being provided for this person. Um, I feel like it is. I really encouraged my team member to think outside the box. Think past the Medicaid funded resources. Simply asking what is important to the person. Um, and I've heard incredible stories about us utilizing the framework, um, and not so much not waiting on this plan of service to be submitted and approved, through the state. How can we help this person in real time based on what's important to them? Um, so what I had, like I said, I do the office hours, so I get a chance to hear these stories often. But there's definitely a few stories that really stick out to me over the course of this year that we've been working on these. So, and one of those is a gentleman who really wanted to be a sports coach, and this person, when we're able to express that, when we're able to, you're having these conversations and you're building trust, like Jamie said, and someone expressed to you like, I really want to be a sports coach. Maybe last year, one of our case managers would have been like, okay, well, I don't know how I can really help you. I don't really have the tools to like. Maybe they wouldn't really know where to go with that information. Um, but nowadays, that person is approached, hey, I want to be a sports coach, and our team member can say like, oh, well, tell me more about that. Tell me, let's talk about your past. Like, were you ever a coach before? What sports did you play? What sports did you enjoy? Really leaning into that, talking about the past and maybe some barriers that may even arise as we try to move forward with this person becoming a potential sports coach. But long story short, utilizing that framework, identifying, hey, what is the vision? Um, what real barriers will we run into in order to try to get to that vision? And if this is your vision up here, and if we can't get to that, how can we get somewhere close? Because this is really what's important to you. Long story short about that person, that individual, he did end up becoming, we're going to call him an assistant coach. He was able to volunteer at the local high school for the boys basketball team. And no, that I get a little goosebumps because it does give that person a sense of community, a sense of purpose that he didn't have before. And this had nothing to do with the services that we are providing as a sports planning agency or personal assistance in the home. This had nothing to do with that. This is simply this person finding a purpose again. And we weren't able to do that unless we utilize that framework that's been provided for us through LifeCourse Nexus. So that's awesome. I have another story of a gentleman who used to be in finances, and he wanted to utilize his strengths and knowledge to help other senior citizens. So the supports planner would actually help coordinate with the local senior citizen center for this individual to help teach classes there to the other seniors about financial literacy and financial planning. Um, but all that is just simply asking the questions, hey, what's important to you? And of course, everyone wants to be healthy and live that good life, but that good life is more than just services. I think with CTLC and Charting the LifeCourse, we have the real opportunity to really tap in, to the hearts of people, and I think that really makes this job worth it. The framework, it's impactful, it's worth it, it works, and it's just exciting to see the impact that it has.
David,
I
I
can
think,
I can go on more and more stories. So Jamie, please go ahead.
yeah, I'm not maybe necessarily going to share any more stories because I think you shared some incredible stories. But I think, I struggle when thinking about this question because the possibilities for people have always been there. And to
Hmm.
me, what embedding the life course framework and committing to really being having a person-centered approach, it highlights to me how important it is for our coordinators to understand the impact that they can have in a community. And as you spoke about, David, it isn't always just about the connection to goods and services. It is really about people finding community
Hmm.
and being really fulfilled and in having relationships where there's so much more value than just showing up into those scenarios where you're just getting goods and services. And so I think at the end of the day, what I might say is that the people we support, the possibilities are only greater because our case managers have the knowledge and the skills to help lift people's voices and really share their vision for their good life. And I'm so grateful to be able to be a part of an organization who commits to that, because all people supported should be having that experience. And so I think that we talked about all the things we do internally in our organization, but that commitment to this kind of professional development is so intentional about impact to people served and our communities. And so I just think it's amazing that thing is the thing that helps the people we support have greater opportunity.
Don't know if I can say anything other than just wow. um, that is fantastic. I'm sure that when you think back, I mean, it's probably just mind-boggling considering your journey to this point, where things have been, where they are now, and where they're going. And just focus on something that David said. You mentioned that it's more about than just those formal services. And that really resonates with me, because I mean, one of the things that I often say when I'm doing trainings and whatnot is that we want people to have a colorful life using all those points of the star. So that really resonated, and those success stories are phenomenal. I love hearing people starting to reach towards that good life, thanks to support of the framework, but also just being person centered overall. Fantastic. So all that being said, I feel like I've asked some pretty broad questions already. So here's one more to throw your direction. What is your vision for continuing this work, both at Service Coordination Inc. and beyond?
Well, it's a good question. I've been I think at this for years. I'll just say that I was one of the first in Maryland to become an ambassador for LifeCourse. So it's been a pretty long trajectory for me, so to speak, with using LifeCourse principles. And I think what I am hoping for in the future is how the examples that David shared and the things that we're doing in our organization help to inform best practices within our state, within case management services, that we start to see replicated. I talked a little bit about, in the last question, that's what people supported need. We need people to show up and be willing to really sit down and explore possibilities and figure out how to remove barriers, and navigate really complex systems, piece together things to help someone have that life that is really meaningful and fulfilling for them. And so I hope that we continue to see more and more case managers across all different waivers and service delivery models really adopt into the fact that using the framework and focusing on these principles does really have a powerful impact, positive impact in people's lives. So I would say, that's here in Maryland, it's within our organization, but, the work that the Nexus has done, to really create a community across, the states where we're all sharing knowledge. I just think about the thousands and thousands of people that are benefiting from that. And I want to keep seeing that happen.
I mean, yeah, just to add on to that, um, I will always consider SCI as a leader in person-centered planning in Maryland for sure. Um, I would just love for us to continue to get better and to continue to learn, and for CTLC and LifeCourse to continue to catch fire amongst other supports planning agencies. And like I said, it was awesome to be at the showcase to witness where LifeCourse has been and the impact that it's made in other states. I've garnered some contacts from Ohio and Kansas that I talked to just because I was there with them at the showcase. So I know that the impact of CTLC is going to continue to build upon its own success. And I think it has an opportunity to go to places where um, like maybe we didn't see it at first. Like we're working on it with case managers, but this can be something that can just be for families. It can be for students. It can be for corporate corporate organizations. It can be for anyone who wants to adopt person-centered planning and recognize the importance of such approaches. So I would love to see CTLC continue to grow, and especially within SCI, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you for your thoughtful answers there. I know I was kind of putting you on the spot a little bit there. Um, so just a few more questions before we wrap up. Would love if you could share if you have a favorite Charting the Life course saying. Like earlier, I mentioned, we want people to have a colorful life, as an example.
Yeah, I don't know about you, David. I have a hard time picking a saying, but I think you and I have both talked about in this call, the star, and so I do think like that definitely resonates for me. I remember hearing Dr. Shelley Reynolds talk about the star with the 5 fingers, right? The 5. It's really like
Mm,
just so simple and easy, but also really just the concept of all. It's not really a saying, but when we talk about all, I think it just resonates with me so much because it is aligned with our culture and what we do. So it's not like a 3D glasses because it's the glasses we look through every day. But I imagine like it is a really helpful way for people to realize that they might be needing to put on those glasses. They might not have that embedded in their organization. So
mm.
those are just some of, I think, more the principles and maybe in the ways that we've talked about them over the years that have stood out to me.
I'm gonna steal something from Dr. Reynolds when she came to present at one of our leadership conferences, and she mentioned the idea of creating blue space, and that's the that's the space in the middle of the eye or the tornado where it's nice and calm, and you got a lot of chaotic things going on outside. Um, that resonates with me as a former educator, where I was the one who let's close my door and let me teach my kids. I think now aligning that idea with CTLC and Blue Space and supporting the people. There's a lot of noise going on outside of our organization when it comes to policies, funding, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, we are still here, and we are still able to make an impact for the people. So while all that's going on, I really encourage my team just to focus on the person. As long as we're focusing on the person, everything will kind of fall in line how it should. But let's keep the person at the forefront.
Well said, David.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fantastic. Well said. So moving on from that favorite saying, if you had to pick a favorite or maybe even just most used tool, what comes to mind for you?
I'll say for me, it's the individual portfolio tool. And the annoying thing about me is I do like the question why. So when someone talks to you about what their goals are, and I always want to know why. Why is that the goal? Because I think like you really need to keep pulling that thread to really understand exactly where somebody is looking to go. And I think the portfolio is just such a holistic blend of all of the tools and all of the kind of concepts together that you get a real true picture of what the person is trying to communicate and where they're trying to go. And it's really informed by the things that have maybe happened in the past or are happening currently. So I think it's just the greatest visual to really, help you understand the person as a whole. And so it's by far my favorite.
I'm going to say my favorite has to be the trajectory, um, probably because it makes me look really smart when I'm having conversations. No, it honestly it's very versatile, right? So you can be utilizing the trajectory just in conversation without actually having it in front of you, filling things out. Where you're talking to someone about a goal or a situation, and then you start to ask about. I love context, I love history, so tell me your past so I can help inform these future decisions. And when you utilize the trajectory and just a framework itself, it talks about, well, what has worked in the past, what kind of next steps can we take to help us get to where we want to go. I think it, like I said, it's versatility in any conversation. Not that you have to go through each part, but all right, this is what you don't want. Well, why don't you want that? What happened before that really impacted your goal or your preference for this situation? Um, so, like I said, you can just have conversation and jump into a conversation from different entry points with utilizing trajectory framework. So that's my favorite.
Awesome. It's always really cool hearing the variety of what resonates the most with one person versus another, because it's always some really fun, unique mix. Um, so, one final question is, if you were to consider another agency or organization that is starting the journey you've already embarked on, what's one actionable tip you would give them to help them get started?
Yeah, I'll say, David, I think for the amount of years that I've been introducing LifeCourse to others, I think one of the things I would say for an organization is to really be intentional, and to really help your team members, or your staff, however you want to refer to your employees. We say team members, but understand how to use them individually. So, how do these principles apply to you as a person in your family, in your community, in your life, in helping you identify what your goals and objectives are? And really creating the common language. And I think that's so important because it keeps it from just being one more thing that you're asking someone to do. We're teaching the discipline of how to actually do planning and how to explore conversations with people. And I think it sounds very simplistic, but I think that's the foundation that you can then build on. And it catches like wildfire, right? Once you've done that, it's not such a big leap to say, okay, we want this to improve this area of quality. We want this to help us demonstrate why, this practice has had such an impact. And I just think also, you know, it's very individual. And I think I referenced this before. Some people are going to catch on really quick. So I would say for the people who do, and they really feel like they have those aha moments really early on, give them opportunities to be that peer resource and to be a champion for the work, because you get a lot of buy-in and value when people have success and they're able to share it with others. So I would say that for sure for anyone just starting out.
Yeah, I would definitely agree and echo a lot of what you said, Jamie. The intentionality, connecting to the tools and the framework on a personal level, and also that would help create that buy-in. All those are very important points. If I can add one, it would be recognizing that CTLC by itself, or Charting the LifeCourse, the frameworks don't necessarily stand on their own, where they should be used to infuse and enhance what you're already working on. Um, I think if like putting on those three, this is when you like putting on those 3D glasses, right? If a new agency were to just start their journey, um, let's take what they are already doing well, take what they're already comfortable with doing, and then allowing CTLC to enhance those things, and allowing your agency to become more person centered in those efforts. So, um, yeah, just allowing CTLC and the framework to work alongside of what you guys already have going on.
That was great. Who knows? Maybe a few years from now, there will be another organization that that's really come into championing LifeCourse, and they'll credit those actionable tips from you guys for getting to where they are. Um, so, thank you so much, both Jamie and David, for joining us today. I have really enjoyed our conversation. I can't wait to hear more of what's happening in your corner of the country in the future. Hopefully, see you at the showcase this year. But if you have anything you want to say in closing to our listeners, I welcome that. But once again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. It was wonderful. And I'll just say, the invite stands, David. So you tell us when you want to come out and see SCI in action.
Awesome.
Just say continue to chart the life course, guys, and continue to make those impacts.
I hope you found this conversation with Jamie and David as insightful as I did. Some really great takeaways on integrating LifeCourse into an organizational structure, and really provided that person-centered planning approach to the people that are receiving support. So thank you for taking the time to listen to Showcase 365. Please share this podcast with friends, family, and really anyone you know who would love to learn more about creating their good life with Charting the LifeCourse framework and tools. Remember, you can always find tools and resources on our website, lifecoursenexus.com. We hope you join us next month.